Now we will discuss function point analysis method of estimation, which will cover in much details. Function point analysis, or FPA as it is called, was first developed by Alan J. Ulbricht, who worked at IBM in the late 1970s. Now, it was an attempt to overcome the difficulties associated with the lines of code as a measure of software estimate, and also to assist in developing a mechanism to predict software estimates associated with software development. So as we have seen in the COCOMO model, which primarily relied on kilolines of code, FPA had attempted to overcome the difficulties involved in the software estimation using kilolines of code as the metric size. Now FPA, what it does is it considers the end user view of the application to be developed or updated. So if it's a fresh development, it will be application development, and if it's enhancements or modules to be added on the existing application, it will be updation. So this considers the end user view of the application, how the end user would view the application. It was first published in 1979, and then the paper was reprinted in the IEEE magazine in 1981. IEEE, it's an institute of electrical and electronics engineers who work towards the betterment and advancement education of the electronics, electrical, computer and the related fields. The International Function Points Users Group, or IFPUG, is a non-profit member governed organization founded in 1986, and IFPUG is the organization which have worked towards the advancement of FPA as estimation model in the last so many years. IFPUG, they owns the FPA as defined in the ISO standard 20296:2009, which specifies the definitions, rules and the steps for applying the IFPUG's functional size measurement method. So what they do is, we have certain counting practices in FPA, that is function point analysis. We have certain counting practices for say EI, EO, EQ, ILF, ELF. So they are the ones who maintain the counting practices manual and also the SNAP assessment practice manual, and which is an industry recognized standard for functional and non-functional sizing. Today FP, or function point analysis, is prominently used across the industry for software estimation because it overcomes the certain limitations what we have seen for other estimation method which uses lines of code or expert judgment. It is technology neutral and can be applied for any type of projects. We'll see those in the subsequent slides. And finally, what IFPUG also does is it provides the testing and certification for certified function point specialist. If somebody wants to go in for certification on FPA, this is the exam to go for, or certified function point practitioner and certified SNAP practitioner. So generally all these certifications are valid for a period of 3 years, although the CFPS has a certification extension program. Now we look into details about the function point analysis. Similar to user case point and case point UCP, which we have covered in earlier session, this is also technological neutral and it provides the end user view and hence is considered to be better than the other estimation model. And for those of you who are using agile methodologies today or have heard of agile methodologies, function point analysis in a modified version is helpful even in agile methodologies estimations as well. Now one term which we see is FPs. So what is FP? FP is a function point. It's a measurement of the information processing content of a system's delivered function. So function point is a measurement of the information processing content of a system's delivered function. So a system which is delivered, what is the information been processed and content in that is what we arrive at function points. Now what are the objectives of function point analysis? First, it's like measure the application software functionality based on the end user view, how an end user would view the application. So it focuses from that perspective and measures the applications on that perspective. It minimizes the overhead of the measurement process. It keeps it simple and measures software by quantifying the functionality requested, primarily on logical design and independent of technology. So it considers logical design of the requirements being requested or functionality being requested independent of the technology. It measures the software size in function points. Also, if FPA or function point analysis is accepted as a standard across the organization, then it measures the software development and maintenance consistently across the projects, and we will have a rich data which can be used for with more fine tuning for subsequent projects. Now we talked about this earlier. Functionality is been viewed from the end user's perspective. So you can see the left hand side, the person is interacting with the application. So the center, at the center we have the application being considered. You can see something called internal logical file. We'll look at it later slides what this means. This is also known as, in short, ILF. Then you have an external input going in, you have an external output going out, you have an external inquiry going in and out. So this means you fetch some data, you request some data, and then display it to the user. Then to the right side we see the application being considered interacts with other applications, and you have external accessing external interface files, which is also called EIF, and data from EIF is being accessed by the application being considered. There are some external input coming in, external output going in, and again there is a data being fetched and retrieved and displayed to user. So as you can see, this is a nutshell how we do a function point estimation, or how the function point is been viewed, how the functionality is been viewed from the external end user perspective. Now some of the terms which we have used as we see in the diagram, the internal logical file or the ILF is the logical part of the data in the application being considered. External interface file, EIF, so this is the one which contains data outside an outside application which is been referenced or accessed in the current application. Then you have external input, external output, and external inquiry. So these are what will define FPA in a nutshell. Some of the advantages of function point, we talked about this earlier also. Technology and platform independence. So when one is estimating an application, or if one is submitting a proposal for a proposed system, one need not be worried about the technology and platform independence. We look at the functionality from the end user's perspective, and then we apply some adjustment factors for complexity, and that's it. We arrive at a function point count. It is available in a very early requirements phase. So we can take the requirements at the requirements phase, we can validate this, or we can do this estimation, and it is a consistent and objective unit of measure through the entire life cycle. So we will see in later slides that FP can be applied to fresh development, and also to enhancement, and also to keep a count of the applications once it has been developed. So say today an application is being developed, we need to continuously keep maintaining the size of the application. So there are ways to look at the estimation, enhancement FP size, and also the application FP size. It objectively defines software applications from the customer's perspective, end user's perspective, and also defines a series of software applications from the customers, not the technician's perspective. So when we are counting those function points using those ILF, ELF, EI, IO, EQ, we will see that we are looking at completely from the end users or a customer's perspective and not looking from the development team or some technology team's perspective. And as a result of which it's expressed in a terms or manner in which the user can easily understand about the software without going into too much of technical jargon.